Agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
I can no other answer make but thanks and thanks. On my live show Wednesday night, I promised to thank the group that has created I Am Liberty and made it what it is. And what is it? Well, that's for another show altogether, but it's something. It is, and I think that's what we are thanking for, right? The fact that it is. You know, the fact that there is a group of people out there listening to this show, downloading this show, in a number that I never really thought possible, and still growing. And still growing now, 5, 6 years, whatever we are into this ride. And you think that a podcast, you know, when you start a podcast, you would think that it starts out as a venture. And maybe if you're lucky, becomes a job where you can make some money, whatever. I went into this thing trying to learn how to be more prepared. And 5 years later, I write about preparedness and survival for a living now. So in a way that makes me a professional. I am paid for my advice and my knowledge. So this podcast in and of itself was a learning course of my own. I met some of the greatest people. I've interviewed some incredible people. And I learned a lot along the way. And the reason I kept doing it was for the folks who are listening to this episode. You know, not for the folks who showed up for the big popular guy's interview. But it's for the folks who listen each week. You guys have given a man who has always been a performer an outlet. You know, an outlet that I think I would struggle to fill. I've been a performer all my life. You know, as far back, you can find pictures of me 3 years old with a mic on a boom stand singing into it, doing impressions of Michael Jackson. You can find me in plays as a youngster in elementary school. And then when middle school came to be, it was all about the band. Not the school band, but our own band. And all through high school, we had a great band. We had a lot of fun ripping off other artists. And, you know, it's just something that it's a big part of me. Okay, so from the time high school ended to the time that I crept it back onto the microphone with I Am Liberty, whether I knew it or not, there was a hole, there was a vacuum. And I filled it with writing. I wrote some novels and I wrote some books, some cookbooks and things like that, and went on some shows and did some interviews based on the writings. But the fact of the matter is, there's nothing like this. You know, there's nothing like this whatsoever. It really is an amazing outlet, and it's much more amazing because I know that somewhere out there are several thousands of you who listen on a regular basis, and that's just a big deal. You know, in a world where the media is everywhere, the stimulation is everywhere, you can't escape it. You've got a radio full of channels you can listen to. You've got a phone that may as well be a galaxy of media, right? It may as well be an entire galaxy of media that you could ingest at any time. Yet, when you see this thing show up in your iTunes feed, in your Stitcher feed, on your Facebook page, however you get it, when you see it and it shows up, you decide, you know what? Of all the galaxy of entertainment that I have at my fingertips that I could play through my car stereo or that I could listen to get through this droll existence, I'm going to listen to I Am Liberty today. It's the most humbling feeling in the world. It really is. There is nothing more humbling than to know that above all other forms of entertainment, there are people out there who decide to spend a half hour, 45 minutes with me. It's an amazing feeling. You know, it's an amazing feeling, and it's a testament to what we do, both you and I, right? It's a testament to the feedback that you give me, and it's a testament to me being as consistent as I can be. I know sometimes I go long stints without shows. I apologize for that. It's life, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things going on. It's not easy to be consistent and recording shows consistently in the lifestyle that I live, so I do my best. You know, I try to get you at least a couple of these shows recorded on the phone a month, because I know I'm going to get you 4 live shows on Prepper Broadcasting. That's a given, right? Every Wednesday, if you don't listen to me every Wednesday live, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at prepperbroadcasting.com, you're missing out on a large chunk of what I Am Liberty is all about. You really are. You also need to come and be a part of the live audience, man. You have to come call into the show. You need to come join the live chat room. I mean, it's an experience, right? I've got about 10 people probably that show up in that live chat room on a regular basis, and some other people who show up as well. And they bring an incredible wealth of knowledge themselves, and they also bring great conversation. You know, in the live show, it's just a magic thing because it happens. It just happens as it happens. You know, somebody throws a topic in the chat that I want to talk about. All of a sudden, it's time to switch. You know, you switch gears. And that's all there is to it. It's a great avenue. But this show is made possible by you guys. That's all. You know, it costs me very little to do this show. I don't understand. You talk to people who podcast and like, I got to get some advertisements so I can cover these costs. I don't understand these costs. I may pay $30 a month to do this show, maybe. It might be less, I'm not sure. But that's it. That's all it is, $30. And you can't, and a lot of times I get it back anyway, but that's neither here nor there. It's so worth it, and it's so worth it because of all of you. You've done an amazing thing, not just by pandering, you know, and listening to my show and making me feel like what I have to say matters. But this show has brought me to whole new levels. You know, it's taken me to whole new levels. I've gotten so many things that have changed my life in an amazing way. You know, maybe 2 years ago to the day, I said I was going to focus on jiu-jitsu and learning Muay Thai, and I was going to focus on hunting, and now these things are ingrained in me. You know, I've learned so much. It's been incredible. It's been incredible. These were commitments I made to you. And as far as preparedness goes, as far as survival skills and prepping goes, it's just... When I did that first show, some 5 years ago, through a laptop microphone, you know what I mean? Through a laptop microphone, and sent that thing off, and I said on that show, look, I'm no expert. I'm no expert, but I'd like to learn alongside of you. So we'll pick topics and we'll talk about these topics each week and we'll explore them. We'll learn together. And I will be the neophyte host that can be funny and entertaining, but we can also learn together. And that was the number one goal of the I Am Liberty show. And now all this time later, it is what it is. It's everything I asked the audience to help me with and more. So I had to open the show with some thanks, some Shakespearean thank you. You know, not that I'm a millionaire off the show, not that it's changed my lifestyle. Well, it has changed my lifestyle, not that it's changed my income very much. And maybe that's a good thing. You know, I have those days when I say, you know, I really need to spend more time going after sponsors and trying to get people to come. And then I have those days where I'm like, no. Because I may want to get on the show and talk about realism paintings for a half hour. And you lose your ability to be genuine if you have other people that you need to satisfy. So I don't know. What I do know is that I am grateful. I am gushing and grateful, and I thank you all for 5 great years that all started with a wing and a prayer and very low expectations. And we've had a great ride, and I don't see it ending anytime soon, to be honest with you. I love it. I still love it, and it's all because of you, right? It's all your fault. So I want to start this next segment with a phrase, with an idea, that meat should have meaning. I know it sounds a little funny without explaining what I'm talking about, but meat should mean something. I do believe that, and I believe it's stronger now that I see what is happening with these self-producing cells that people are growing into chicken tenders and beef products and duck meat. And I'm looking at it, so if you're unaware, there's a company called Memphis Meat that's growing meat, right? I'm sure they do other things as well, but they're also growing meat. They have successfully grown the first chicken tender, deep fried it, fed it to people. And of course it's 100% safe. Don't be concerned. Don't worry about a thing. And when I think about Memphis Meat and I think about this idea of laboratory grown meat, it brings up a lot of questions. And I'm sure it brings up a lot of questions in you. And like anything else in the world, this is a big deal because it's something that's not going to go away, and it's a decision that you have to make. I'll tell you, in the first paragraph of the article, they mentioned self-producing cells that are used to create this meat. And when I read self-producing cells, this comes from, I have done very little research on what this stuff is. I don't know anything about what it's been tested on, who or how it's been tested. And of course, there are tests that just can't be done right now because we can't accelerate time. But when I hear self-producing cells that are used to grow this food, the first thing that comes to mind is cancer. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Do I want to put something in my body that is man-made? Because what do we know about man-made? Well, we know man-made pesticides, man-made plastics. They're all really good at causing cancer, right? I mean, we all can agree on that. There's not a right-winger or a left-winger or a conservative or whatever designation you put underneath yourself or over yourself or under yourself or inside of yourself. Don't let me go down that path. But everybody would agree, right? Man-made plastics, man-made pesticides, man-made items, things like cigarettes and petroleum products, they've all been shown to cause cancer. None of them are made of self-producing cells, none of them are meat. But when I see something that is producing cells on its own, self-producing cells, cancer comes to mind. I just can't help it. I look at it, and maybe it's the idea that we've done so much damage in the past. And here's the idea about lab-grown meat. The suffering of animals comes to a screeching halt, right? Everyone is against factory farming, but everyone's still eating it. There's very few people who don't understand the depths of what happens in those places, and there's very few people who have given it all up altogether. There's very few. When you talk about the population on a whole, would it be a better planet without those factory farms? Yes, 100%. You can't get around that. There's incredible amounts of pollution coming from those factory farms, and it's a stain historically. It is definitely a stain historically. Now, do I support it? Of course I support it. It's part of the infrastructure right now that you can't get around unless you have a lot of money or a lot of time, and I don't have either. Right? I mean, that's the big issue. When you look at people and factory farm, eating Burger King and eating them and buying supermarket meat, it's a time and it's a money issue for many people. If I didn't have to work, right? If I wasn't busy 5 days a week and I didn't have children to take care of, sure. Maybe I could spend 3 days a week out in the field and get my own meat. Maybe I could spend more time during the week growing Well, see, I can't even slaughter chickens within the city limits here, so I couldn't produce my own meat if I wanted to, without getting in trouble. But it's a time and a money thing. And that's why the factory farms are dominating. Because people need to eat. And they want to eat meat, and they want to do it cheap. And what I see with this stuff, and I could be wrong, and hopefully I am wrong, but I don't think I am. It's a meat substitute one way or another, right? It can't be the same thing. It can't taste exactly the same. It can't be the same thing. We'll find out some 10 years later that it was just soy product all along. We didn't grow a damn thing. It was just soy. We just tricked you all. It was just soy. We flavored it up with various yeasts and flavorings and spices. And yeah, we were just selling you soy chicken tenders for the last 10 years. Sorry your testosterone's dropped to below the level of your wife. But that's the situation. No, but honestly, what I see in this, and it's great, it's science, it's technology, it's some of the coolest things in the world, right, taking place. But what I see is another quick fix for meat. Another quick fix so that we can get meat cheap, the way that we've expected it. Let me pay this toll real quick. I haven't seen these folks in a while. Hey, how you doing? You too, man. See ya. Yeah, what I see is yet another quick fix for a meat problem. Another quick fix for a meat problem that we may look down the hallway of history at sometime from now and say, ooh, yeah, we messed up. Yeah, we messed up, didn't we? We probably shouldn't have gone that route. We kind of screwed up. Because now we have this, or now we have that. And maybe not, maybe it's an answer. But to me, it seems like something. In other words, if we're talking about a technology that we're going to ingest and put into our bodies, I think we need to look at time a little differently. You know, I think we need to study it probably for 20, 30 years before we even consider marketing it to people and putting it in their bodies. You know, because a lot of things were like, oh, yeah, no big deal. That's 100% safe. Go ahead. You can have it. You can eat it. And you go back to the pills prescribed to the women in the 1950s, right? One of the best examples, or cigarettes in general. So I look at this factory meat, self-producing cells, and the fearful part of me says cancer. The fearful part of me says, what are self-producing cells going to do within my body? You know, you are what you eat. Are they going to produce malignant tumors in my body? Maybe not. But then I also come back to the same old script when it comes to meat. That same old thing that you get into every time you get into a debate about what's going on with cheap meat in the nation. And you can't help but nod back to the heritage of your heritage and say, well, meat really should mean something. It should mean something. It should be more than just a cheap fixture, right? It should be more than just a cheap thing that we buy with pocket change and it has to be at every meal. And I do feel like meat should mean something, but I don't know what that means to everybody. There's different issues with that. You know, that's not a succinct answer. Because there's people who live in deep in cities. And they can't produce cows. There's no, you know, there's nothing like that that's possible. There's no possibility of doing something like that in the city. For enough people that it would be productive. Unless we radically change the way the cities are laid out altogether. But then we have to radically change the behavior of the people in the cities as well. They have to take on responsibilities. But that's going down a path that's just, we're not there yet as a people. We want it fast, we want it cheap, we want it easy. And then we want to mock it. On top of all that, then we want to get up on a podcast and mock it. And that's the reality, like it or not. But you read over this article about Memphis meats and the things that they have produced. And many people who've tasted this chicken tender say that it tastes pretty close to a chicken tender, which is another factor. So what does that mean? What does that mean? This radical animal rights activists, and however tight their grip is on society, they're going to go absolutely crazy over this, right? This is going to be something that makes them giddy on the inside. I mean, they are going to be just determined to make this work out, because it's an end to the suffering of the animals, and we all understand that. But that's the catch-22 of the whole thing, right? The animals are suffering, they're living in deplorable conditions, and if they don't, then people don't get meat. We just can't produce that much meat the right way for the price. The price that people have come to expect, the price that people demand, and the price that people will riot over if it were to go up 50% or 100%. It's that simple. And if we were to do it the right way, it would probably go up 500%, maybe 1,000%. If we had to own giant swaths of land, right? If farmers had to own giant swaths of land, and all that went into that. It's just a reality. And that's the meat issue, right? That's the meat debate. You have the parties that just don't care. They just want meat. They want it cheap. You have the conscientious who understand the situation and the depth of it. And then you have the animal rights activists who want it stopped at all costs. I can tell you one thing, you know where this food's going to wind up. I'll tell you where this food winds up first. It winds up in your kid's lunch. It winds up spread across governmental programs. Mark my words. Like the TVP. That's what it is, right? TVP? The textured vegetable protein. Ah, yes, delicious, right? A world of textured vegetable protein. Who could be happier? Give me a nice big meatball with noodles and Parmesan cheese and tomato sauce on top, and make that meatball of textured vegetable protein, and I'll never know the difference. It'll be just like Mama, just like my English mother made. God, it's such a symbolic sunset I'm looking at right now. The life changes that have happened to me over the last 5 months. God almighty, it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. If only you knew the full extent of what has happened over these last few months. It's an amazing thing, you know? What the human is capable of doing and adapting, meeting the challenges of. That's why I've always lived my life with that, open door policy. It's an open door policy is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just this idea that you can't go through life saying I won't and I can't. I'm not going to do that. I'll never do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's just do it. But I'm not here to get philosophical on that. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who are new to the show, there's always new people to the show. The show and really it's my affiliates more than anything have made this show burst like it hasn't ever. We're going on 5 years here. In May 31st will be 5 years of podcasting for me, which is an amazing thing when you think about it, really. It's hard to believe because it happened so fast and it came on such a whim. 5 years into this thing, you guys have been a part of a diary of my life that it's an amazing thing to think about. My kids will be able to listen to these 5 years. And these have been such massive years. The birth of both of my sons, right? All the career moves, all the career changes, the freelance writing career, all of that. And all of my thoughts laid out. I mean, there's more content on their father than they'll ever be able to absorb. Hundreds of episodes of this thing. Some with guests, some without guests, some happy, some sad, some political, some philosophical. You know what I mean? I would give anything to have that kind of collection of my own father to go back and listen to. He's still with me, but I mean, it's just the idea. You know, how cool would it be to be motivated by your dad every day of the week? You don't think about these things, you know, when you're doing them, you're just doing them. But anyway, the topic I really am interested in, now that we talk about Frankenstein food, now that we've talked about thank you for all the everything that you've given me. I mean, you see, it's hard for you to really understand. Everything is everything. You know what I mean? It's like who was the girl from Philadelphia? The lovely. I always love it when someone originates from Philadelphia and does great things, just because, you know, it's that old fire in me. But she was a lovely R&B singer, Jill Scott, right? And she had that great song about everything is everything and it's going to be all right. But you really don't understand that everything is everything. You know, this podcast, though it seems like some guy riffing about preparedness and you know, conspiracy sometimes and all that, like, it's just a guy riffing, right? And I've said before, and I'm adamant, I don't make a lot of money off this thing. I rarely make money. But that's not even a true statement. And I don't want that to devalue your experience as a person who listens to I Am Liberty, because it's always good to say, oh man, the guy I'm listening to is successful. We've made him successful. It's our listenership that is. And you know what? It is. Because of you folks, I have spent time learning and becoming a serious player in the preparedness game, in the survival game. And that gave me the confidence to jump careers. Well, I didn't necessarily jump careers, but when necessity came that I had to jump careers, you know, there was really no option for me outside of doing what I had to do because of my circumstance. But it was the fans of the I Am Liberty show that kept me doing these podcasts, kept me learning, kept me writing books. You know, I wrote ebooks and things like that all through this process because of this podcast. And that built me even a stronger base. And though I didn't receive big money through sponsorships, I was building a resume that allowed me to do something that very few Americans get to do. You know, which is say, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to do mostly what I want to do. You know, with the exception of very few jobs and very few clients, I look forward to what it is I do every day. You know, I enjoy waking up and writing. I also have time now to write the things I want to write. Let me tell you about a strategy that I put in place as a freelance writer, just so you understand. There may be freelance writers. There may be someone out there who is looking to write a book. You know, a lot of people who listen to this stuff, they're out there looking, they want to write a book. And they're thinking to themselves, man, I should write a book. I want to write a book. How am I going to find the time to write a book? Well, here's advice from a new business owner about writing a book and about investing in yourself. You know, you listen to great investors and people who always have the right advice all the time. You listen to them about investment and finances. Almost every rich person says the same thing. What do they say about 10%? They say pay yourself first, right? 10% goes to you. 10% goes to you, right? Pay yourself, or some percentage goes to you, always. Don't deny yourself of that. So I took that philosophy, right? And I started thinking about it. I said, you know, that's something I need to do. And it really, truly is something I need to do. Because I wasn't doing it. Now I am doing it. And that's a whole nother story on how I'm doing that, which I also like the idea of. But I also started thinking about it from a writing standpoint, from a creation standpoint, right? Because we're all putting energy into something and we want to do something and leave something behind. And I started to get into this writing thing, and I was lucky enough to be in high demand, which I still am. I mean, I'm turning work down a lot. And when you're in that high demand, you want to take it up and you want to make the money, right? You want to be successful. You want to show everybody who knows what you're doing that, look, this is working. I made this work. Okay, through hard work, through dedication, through creating great content for people that looks great, reads great, sells. I'm making it. You know what I mean? I'm making it. I dug into this niche market and I'm making it. But before long, you realize I am writing everyone's dreams but my own. Right? I am penning the dreams of every one of my clients, and my own are left in the closet. So I decided to take the same mindset, 10%, right? Pay yourself first. So now every day, one of the first things I do, it's not always the first thing, but one of the first things on my list every day when I wake up, I know, I have clients that I need to work on. I have jobs that are weekly jobs that I work on a little bit at a time throughout the week. But every day, one of the first things that I do is I do 10,000 words. 1,000. I do 1,000 words into one of my projects. That is part of my job. There's no getting around it. If I miss out on that, it's just like missing out on a client. I feel the same level of guilt and shame about it. And that's just how it has to be. It has to be that way. It has to be that way. Don't you understand it? It has to be that way. Because when it's that way, you get done what you need to get done. So in other words, I'm putting in 10,000 words every 2 weeks into a project. Do you understand what that means? That means in 3 months' time, I can write an entire book. In 3 to 4 months' time, I can write a real deal, nonfiction, or a novel, or whatever it is I'm working on. Easily, 1,000 words a day. And some days I fly past 1,000. Some days I struggle to make that 1,000. But it's about setting that aside for yourself. It's that same ideology of paying yourself first. Now that I've gone on that tangent, it's not at all what I wanted to talk about. And you know what? I think I'll reserve the topic I have in mind for another day and time. Because I've gone on long enough today. And I know there are limits to how much time people have to listen. And I know there are limits to how much people can absorb in one day. But this is a very important thing to me. All right, just so you know, this show is a very important piece of my life. And it's, to be honest with you, it has become a part of my life that I can't think about living without anymore. It's become woven into me. Woven into my very weekly, tasks, into who I am. This is what I do. And I've been paid greatly for it. In so many ways. So I thank you all. Have a good night. It's James Walton with the Eye of Liberty.